Ever wished your AI was a little less, know-it-all, a little more do-it-all?
Yeah.
Well, get this. We're diving into a new approach to AI
Okay.
that's less about making it super smart and more about
Right.
giving it the tools and instructions to actually be helpful in our messy real world.
It's like instead of building another brainiac like Spock,
Oh, I like that.
we're trying to give AI the practicality and resourcefulness someone like, say, Tony Stark.
Okay, I'm already hooked. So
Yeah.
less live long and prosper and more suit up and solve problems.
Exactly.
I like it.
We're talking about something called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. It's a way to connect AI models to outside information, tools,
What?
and even apps so they can actually DO things, not just process data in isolation.
So it's like finally giving the AI access to the internet, a toolbox, and maybe even a driver's license.
That's a great way to put it. For too long, we've been building these incredibly powerful AI models,
Yeah.
training them on mountains of data, but then they're stuck. Imagine training someone to be a master chef,
Right.
but then only letting them use a microwave.
Talk about a recipe for disaster. But with MCP, we're giving them access to the whole kitchen.
Precisely. And the cool thing is, this isn't just some abstract concept. Companies are already using MCP to build what they call agentic systems.
Agentic system.
Think of it as AI that can actually take initiative and get stuff done.
Okay, so less Siri, set a timer, and more AI assistant. Plan my entire week, book my flights, and maybe even order me a pizza.
Huh?
Is that where we're headed?
You're getting the idea. Block, the company formerly known as Square,
Oh, yeah.
is already using MCP to build systems that handle a lot of those tedious tasks so their employees can focus on the creative stuff.
Okay, that definitely appeals to my inner procrastinator.
Yeah.
So how does this MCP magic actually work? What's happening under the hood?
Imagine if every AI had a universal translator, not for languages, but for data, tools, and actions.
Okay.
MCP acts as that translator, letting AI models tap into real-time information, connect to APIs, and even run commands on other systems.
So it's like teaching them to not only read the instruction manual, but actually use the power tool.
Exactly. And this has implications way beyond just making our lives easier. It could change how we develop software,
Right.
how businesses operate, and even how we interact with the world around us.
All right, I'm officially intrigued. Give me a real-world example of how this could play out.
Let's say you're a developer and you're using an AI coding assistant.
Right.
Right now, it might suggest some code snippets or help you debug, which is cool. But with MCP,
Oh,
this AI could pull relevant code from GitHub, run tests on your local machine, and even commit changes with your approval.
whoa. That's taking pair programming to a whole new level. It's like having a coding buddy who never sleeps and actually knows what they're doing.
And the potential goes way beyond just coding.
Okay.
Think about AI research assistants that can pull up the most up-to-date studies while you're writing a paper.
Oh.
Or AI personal assistants that can manage your tasks across all your different apps, like a super-powered, hyper-organized version of yourself.
Okay, that's a level of efficiency I could definitely get behind.
Yeah.
So we're talking about AI that's not just smart, but also super connected and proactive. That feels like a major shift.
It is, and here's where it gets even more interesting. Instead of just having individual AI agents that are good at specific things, imagine them working together, collaborating based on their unique skills.
So it's like the Avengers of AI, each with their own superpower. You got Iron Man for tech, Captain America for strategy,
Right.
Thor for smashing through data silos.
You got it. Each AI agent would have a specific skill set, and they could communicate and coordinate with each other to solve complex problems.
So no more AI trying to be a jack of all trades and ending up as a master of none.
Right.
I like where this is going.
Exactly.
But how does this collaboration actually work?
That's where something called a skill graph comes in. It's basically a map of all the different AI agents and their abilities, so they can find each other and team up based on the task at hand.
Okay, so it's like LinkedIn for AI agents.
Yeah.
They can connect, network, and find the perfect collaborators for each project.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is, this whole process would be transparent. You could see which AI agent is doing what and how they're arriving at their decisions. No more black box AI making choices we don't understand.
That's a relief. I don't know about you, but I'm not quite ready for the AI uprising just yet. But seriously, this idea of skill graphs and AI collaboration feels like a major leap forward.
It is. And it has the potential to change how we approach problem solving in general.
Okay.
Think about it. Instead of trying to find one super AI that can do everything, we can build teams of specialized AI agents that work together, each contributing their unique expertise.
Okay, that's a really compelling vision. But before we get too carried away with the future, let's bring it back to the present for a moment.
Yeah.
What are some of the real-world challenges or limitations of MCP and skill graphs?
Well, one of the big ones is ensuring that these AI agents can actually communicate and coordinate effectively.
I see.
We need to develop standards and protocols that allow them to understand each other's capabilities and share information seamlessly.
So it's kind of like making sure everyone's speaking the same language, even if they have different accents or dialects.
Exactly. And we also need to make sure that these AI's ecosystems are secure and robust.
Right.
We don't want a situation where one rogue AI agent can bring down the whole system.
Okay, so security and reliability are key. What about the ethical implications of all this? We're talking about AI agents that are making decisions and taking actions that could have real-world consequences.
That's a crucial point. We need to make sure that these AI systems are aligned with our values and that they're not being used for malicious purposes.
So it's not just about building cool technology. It's about building responsible technology.
Absolutely, and that's going to require a lot of careful thought and consideration from everyone involved, from the developers to the policymakers to the users themselves.
All right. That's a lot to unpack. But before we dive deeper into those ethical considerations, I think it's time to take a break and let our listeners digest all this information.
Sounds good. We've covered a lot of ground in part one, but there's still much more to explore.
Exactly. In part two, we'll delve deeper into the potential applications of MCP and skill graphs, and we'll explore some of the real-world examples of how this technology is already being used to solve problems and create value.
And we'll also talk about the potential impact of this technology on the future of work and how we can prepare ourselves for the changes that are coming.
Sounds like a plan. Until then, keep thinking about those AI agents and their amazing skill sets. What kind of problems could we solve if they were all working together?
Right.
And what role do you see yourself playing in this emerging AI landscape?
Picking up where we left off, let's imagine you're stuck on a particularly challenging problem. Maybe it's a complex coding issue, or you're trying to make sense of a mountain of data for a research project.
Okay, that's definitely relatable. I've hit that wall more times than I care to admit.
Exactly. And right now, you might turn to Google, spend hours sifting through articles, or maybe even call in a favor from a friend who's an expert.
Or just give up and watch cat videos on YouTube, hypothetically, of course.
We've all been there. But imagine if, instead of going through all that, you could just turn to your AI assistant and say, hey, I need help with this. And because of MCP, that AI can not only access the latest research and data, but also call on other AI agents with specialized skills to tackle the problem.
Okay, so it's like having a personal team of AI experts on call, ready to jump in and help me with whatever I'm struggling with.
That's the idea. It's like having access to a whole team of brilliant minds, each with their own unique expertise, all working together to help you succeed.
Okay, I'm sold. Sign me up. But let's get a little more concrete. How would this actually play out in, say, the world of research?
Imagine you're a scientist working on a cure for a disease. You could have an AI agent that specializes in analyzing medical research papers, another one that's great at modeling complex biological systems, and yet another that can run simulations to test potential drug candidates.
So it's like having a whole lab team of AI assistants, each with their own scientific superpower, working around the clock to help you make breakthroughs.
Precisely. And because these AI agents are connected through MCP, they can seamlessly share data and insights with each other, accelerating the research process in a way that wouldn't be possible for humans alone.
So it's not just about replacing human researchers. It's about augmenting their abilities and helping them achieve more, faster.
Exactly. It's about human-AI collaboration at its best.
Okay, I'm loving this vision of the future. But let's not forget about our friends in the creative fields. How could MCP and skill graphs shake things up for artists, writers, and musicians?
That's a great question. Imagine a musician who's hit a creative block. They could turn to an AI agent that specializes in music theory, another that's a whiz at generating melodies, and maybe even one that can analyze popular music trends to suggest new directions to explore.
So it's like having a band of AI collaborators, always ready to jam and help you break out of that creative rut.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to stop there. You could even have AI agents that specialize in different musical genres or instruments, allowing for truly unique and collaborative musical experiences.
Okay, so we're talking about AI that can help us not only solve problems, but also push the boundaries of human creativity. That's pretty mind-blowing.
It is, and I think it's important to emphasize that this is not about replacing human creativity. It's about providing new tools and inspirations for artists to explore.
So it's like giving artists an expanded palette of colors or a new set of brushes to paint with.
Exactly. It's about expanding the possibilities of artistic expression.
Okay, I'm definitely getting excited about the potential here, but I also want to be realistic. Are there any limitations or potential downsides to this technology that we need to be aware of?
Of course. One of the key challenges is going to be ensuring that these AI agents are properly trained and aligned with human values.
Okay, so we don't want to end up with AI composing music that's technically brilliant but emotionally void, or writing novels that are grammatically perfect but utterly soulless.
Exactly. We need to make sure that these AI systems are not just technically proficient, but also sensitive to the nuances of human emotion, creativity, and cultural context.
So it's about more than just feeding them data. It's about teaching them to understand the human experience.
Precisely. And that's going to require a lot of careful thought and collaboration between AI developers, artists, ethicists, and society as a whole.
All right, so it's not just about building the technology. It's about building it responsibly and thoughtfully. But I have to admit, even with those challenges, the potential of MCP and skill graphs is incredibly exciting.
I agree. And it's important to remember that we're still in the early stages of this technological revolution.
So we're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
Exactly. As these AI systems become more sophisticated and interconnected, who knows what amazing things we'll be able to achieve.
Well, that's a great note to end on. But before we wrap up part 2, I want to throw out a bold prediction.
Okay, I'm all ears.
I think within the next decade, having a personal team of AI agents will be as common as having a smartphone.
Wow, that's a bold prediction, but I don't think it's entirely out of the realm of possibility.
Think about it. We're already seeing the rapid adoption of AI assistants like Siri and Alexa, and as MCP and skill graphs mature, those assistants are going to become exponentially more powerful and versatile.
You're right. It's not hard to imagine a future where we each have a personalized team of AI agents, helping us with everything from managing our schedules to writing our emails to even brainstorming new ideas.
So instead of just being consumers of AI, we'll become collaborators with AI.
Exactly. And that's what makes this technology so exciting. It has the potential to fundamentally change the way we live, work, and interact with the world around us.
Okay, I'm officially on board with this prediction. But before we get too carried away with the future, let's bring it back to the present for a moment. What can our listeners do today to start preparing for this AI-powered future?
That's a great question. I think the most important thing is to stay informed.
So read articles, listen to podcasts like this one, of course, and learn as much as you can about AI and its implications.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment. There are already a number of AI tools and platforms available that you can try out.
So play around with AI assistants, try out some AI-powered writing or art tools, and start thinking about how you can incorporate these technologies into your own life and work.
That's a great suggestion. And I think it's also important to start thinking about the ethical implications of AI.
So as you're experimenting with these new tools, ask yourself, what are the potential benefits and risks? How can we ensure that AI is used for good and not for harm?
Exactly. Because the future of AI is not preordained. It's a future that we're creating collectively through the choices we make today.
Okay, that's a powerful message to leave our listeners with. The future of AI is in our hands. But for now, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back soon with part 3 of our deep dive, where we'll explore some of the even bigger implications of MCP and skill graphs for society as a whole. All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into MCP and this whole idea of AI agents teaming up to get things done. You know, we've talked about the potential benefits for individuals.
Right.
But now I'm curious, how could this impact society as a whole?
Well, think about some of the biggest challenges we're facing right now. Climate change, poverty, disease.
Right.
These are complex systemic problems that require a lot of different people and organizations to work together.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So can we use MCP and skill graphs to create, like, the Avengers of problem solving, but for real-world issues?
Exactly. Imagine a network of AI agents, each with specialized skills in areas like climate modeling, renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, or even just really good at coordinating logistics and resources.
So instead of having different organizations working in silos, sometimes even duplicating efforts or working at cross purposes, we could have AI helping to connect the dots and streamline the whole process.
That's the idea. It's about using AI to break down those barriers and facilitate more effective collaboration on a global scale.
Okay, I'm starting to see the potential here, but let's get specific. How could this actually play out in, say, the fight against climate change?
Well, we could have AI agents that are constantly monitoring deforestation rates, using satellite imagery, others analyzing data from weather stations around the world, and still others modeling the impact of different policy decisions on carbon emissions.
So it's like having a global team of AI scientists and analysts working around the clock to understand the problem and identify the most effective solutions.
Exactly, and because these AI agents are connected through MCP, they can share their findings and insights with each other, as well as with human researchers and policymakers, helping to accelerate the pace of progress.
This is starting to feel like that scene in a superhero movie where everyone's talents are finally clicking into place and they're like, all right, team, let's do this, but with, less spandex and more data analysis.
I like that analogy. And just like in those movies, it's not just about having the right tools or superpowers. It's about having the right strategy and the right team dynamics.
So even with all this amazing AI, we still need good old-fashioned human leadership and decision-making to steer things in the right direction.
Absolutely. AI can help us understand complex problems, identify potential solutions, and even predict the outcomes of different actions. But ultimately, it's up to us humans to decide which path to take and what kind of future we want to create.
Okay, I'm feeling cautiously optimistic, but I also know there are a lot of potential pitfalls when it comes to AI. How do we make sure this technology is used for good and not for, less than good purposes?
That's the million-dollar question, and there's no easy answer. It's going to require a lot of careful, ethical considerations and ongoing dialogue between technologists, policymakers, and society as a whole.
So it's not just about building the coolest AI. It's about building it responsibly. What are some of the key principles we should be thinking about as we navigate this AI-powered future?
Well, transparency is crucial. We need to be able to understand how these AI systems are making decisions and what data they're being trained on.
So no more black box AI where we just have to trust that it's doing the right thing. We need to be able to look under the hood and see how the sausage is made.
Exactly, and we need to be mindful of potential biases. AI systems are only as good as the data they're trained on, and if that data is biased, the AI will be biased too.
So if we're not careful, we could end up with AI that reinforces existing inequalities or even creates new ones. That's a scary thought.
It is, and it's why it's so important to have diverse teams of people working on AI development and to engage with communities that are often marginalized or underrepresented in tech.
Okay, so diversity, inclusion, and ethical considerations need to be baked into the whole process, from the design phase all the way through to deployment.
Absolutely, and we need to have clear guidelines and regulations in place to ensure that AI is being used in a way that benefits society as a whole, not just a select few.
So it's a lot like developing a new form of energy or powerful new medicine. We need to make sure we're using it safely and responsibly with everyone's well-being in mind.
I like that analogy. And just like with those other powerful innovations, there will always be trade-offs and difficult choices to make.
All right, so it's not going to be easy, but it's definitely a conversation worth having. But before we wrap things up, I want to come back to something we touched on earlier, this idea of AI and human collaboration. How do you see that relationship evolving as AI becomes more sophisticated?
Well, I think we're moving away from this idea of AI as a replacement for humans and towards a more nuanced understanding of AI as a tool that can augment human capabilities and help us achieve more than we ever could alone.
So it's less about humans versus machines and more about humans and machines working together as a team.
Exactly. And just like any good team, it's about understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses and finding ways to complement each other's skills.
Okay, I like that. But let's be real. There are still a lot of people who are afraid of AI, who see it as a threat to their jobs, their livelihoods, even their very humanity. What would you say to those folks?
I would say that their concerns are valid and we need to take them seriously, but I would also say that fear is often rooted in the unknown.
So the more we learn about AI, the more we understand how it works, the less scary it becomes.
Exactly, and I think it's important to remember that AI is not some alien force that's going to take over the world. It's a technology that we created, and it's up to us to shape its development and use in a way that benefits humanity.
So we need to be proactive, not reactive. We need to engage in these conversations, advocate for responsible AI development, and make sure that this technology is used for good.
I couldn't agree more. The future of AI is not preordained. It's a future that we're creating together. And it's a
Hmm.
future that has the potential to be incredibly bright if we approach it with wisdom, compassion, and a willingness to collaborate.
Well, that's a great note to end on. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into MCP, AI agents, and the future of, well, pretty much everything. It's been a fascinating journey, and I hope you're leaving this conversation feeling not just informed, but also inspired to be part of shaping this incredible technological revolution.
Indeed, because ultimately the future of AI is not just about the technology itself, it's about what we as humans choose to do with it.
And on that note, we'll leave you with one final thought to ponder if AI can help us solve some of the world's most pressing problems. What kind of world do we want to create? What are your hopes and dreams for the future, and how can you use your own talents and passions to help build that future in collaboration with these amazing new tools?
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive, and until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.